So once again, I welcome all the participants. Ninth session. I also welcome to the experts. Today we have a session from the experts from the industry. Hill Quartz Infosystem. So the today expert Prajay Raikar. He is presently working as a research intern at Quartz Infosystem, have worked in the intern at the Siemens Energy Automation Limited. Did his master degree in power engineering, power energy system engineering, bachelor degree in electrical engineering, and he has delivered various lectures in reputed institutions. So once again, I welcome you, sir. And the today talk of presentation is based on the role of battery energy storage for energy management and planning, especially for the smart city. So once again, I welcome you, sir, and I request you to kindly start your presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. Is my voice clear?
Yes,
Okay, sir. Thank you.
please do it in presentation mode.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay.
Hello and good morning, participants. My name is Prajay Raikar, and today we are going to discuss about the role of battery energy storage for energy management and planning for smart cities. Wherein we'll be discussing about how the Typhoon Hill technology plays a major role in testing of this battery energy storage to increase the reliability of the total system. Okay, so with that, we'll see what's the content for the today's webinar we have. So this is the content for the today's webinar, and we'll be looking in brief about the companies of the Typhoon Hill and the Quartz Info Systems. Then we'll be looking at the industry and the academic partnerships that we are having currently. And then we'll be seeing what are the application areas in which the Typhoon Hill technology can be applied with a specific emphasis on the battery energy storage. Then we'll see how the testing and development phases actually happens with the Typhoon Hill technology. And then we'll try to understand one key concept, that is hardware in loop simulation and how it happens with the Typhoon Hill. And finally, we'll focus on what kind of real-time simulators that we have under the Typhoon Hill product portfolio. Okay, so with that, let's begin with the introduction to the Typhoon Hill. Okay, so Typhoon Hill Inc. is the market and technology leader in the rapidly growing field of real-time simulator platform for power electronics, microgrids, and the distributed networks. They provide industry-proven vertically integrated test solutions along with the highest quality customer support. The company was founded in 2008 and based in Switzerland. They have been creating products distinguished by ultimate ease of use, unrivaled performance, leading edge technology, and affordability. So below on your screen, you can see a world map wherein you can see the distribution of the Typhoon Hill offices and the engineering centers across the globe. And here, wherein the India is situated, you can see a small marking wherein it is showing the Quartz Info Systems, which is the sole authorized distributor of the Typhoon Hill technology in India. Okay, coming to the leadership at Typhoon Hill Inc. So these are the four main people, okay, apart from the other engineers who are working for the Typhoon Hill. So starting off with Mr. Nicola Fisher, who is the Chief Executive Officer, founder, and the board member. So he is the pioneer of the Typhoon Hill technology. So there is the technology called as Martha, okay, which is based on the multi-core CPU processing architecture, which helps the Typhoon Hill simulators to simulate the models in real time and achieve the high fidelity while testing. So earlier he was working with ABB drives as a drive control engineer. So then he discovered the technology, and then afterwards he parted apart from the ABB drives, and then it was the rise of the Typhoon Hill INC. Uh, Followed by we have Mr. Ivan, who is the Chief Business Development Officer, founder, and the board member. Okay. Followed by we have Mr. John, who is the founder and the board member. And finally, we have Mr. Dusan, who is the CTO or Chief Technology Officer at Typhoon Hill Technologies. Okay. Coming to the Quabs Info Serums, of which I'm the part of. So Quabs is into educational sales for last 37 years with latest in technology and best in quality. Uh, it has more than 500 satisfied customers all over the India using more than 1,000 softwares and systems currently. Quabs pays special attention on after-sales service and training of the product supplied. It has history of association with the World High-Tech Software Technologies. So that's the reason that the Quabs is the sole authorized distributor for the Typhoon Hill technology in India. Okay, coming to our industry partners. So here are our industry partners. Okay, these are the few industry partner which we could include in the slides. Okay, out of that, the few popular names I would like to quote, which includes ABB, Schneider Electric, General Electric, then LG, Siemens. Okay, and so on. Okay. Next, coming to our academic partners. So we have 100 plus institutes across the 6 continents, okay, using the Typhoon Hill technology. So here are the global academic partners, and on top you can see the few partners. I mean the top academic partners from the India subcontinent. So to name few, it includes IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, IIT Kanpur, IIT Indore, ISM Dhanbad, and NITK Surathkal. Coming to the applications area of Typhoon Hill technology. So the same technology finds application in the section in the different subdomains of electrical engineering. So which includes power electronics and drives, power systems, relay coordination, VAMs and PMU studies, fault analysis, protection, relay testing, smart grids, microgrids, distributed energy resources, etc. And it also includes electric vehicles. Okay, so the point of today's focus is on the battery energy storage testing. Okay, so as you know that the battery energy storage is becoming the central part of the grid today. I mean the microgrid especially, wherein it helps in to increase the reliability of the grid whenever there is a intermittency in the renewable energy sources that we have integrated with the grid. Okay, so it offers you different advantages I mean by testing the battery energy storage with Typhoon Hill, uh, you are in you are just a second. Okay, so there are different advantages that are provided by the that are created by testing your batteries with the Typhoon Hill. That is, you are lowering your project cost, you are reducing the time and value, and reduces the control development cost. You get a wider test coverage, which includes full system level testing and extreme voltage conditions, faults, and communication layer tests for latencies. Time and money savings compared to the power hardware in loop testing. Although we'll be looking at this power hardware in loop testing and the control hardware in loop testing in detail in the upcoming slides. Okay, so how the Typhoon Hill attains the highly reliable battery storage testing is by providing you the high fidelity battery models which are there in the library. This will be demoed during the software demo. Okay, so it has pre-built generic average and full switching models with built-in state of charge and state of health tracking of the battery. Then we have battery chemistry customization. Okay, so you can choose between various battery chemistries which are there. Then you can test with real converters. That is, uh, you can test it with a hardware. Okay, which is called as hardware in loop testing, and you can parameterize the model in real time. Okay, coming to the next point, that is, it offers you high fidelity inverter testing for any grid conditions. Okay, so you can test the switching loss at nanosecond resolution. Then it offers you to test real inverters, that is, real inverter hardware can be tested using hardware in loop testing. uh, the te- uh, the grid following and the grid forming modes of the inverters can be tested, which is interface with your battery. Then there is a one-click testing for country level grid codes and the grid protection functions like volt var, hertz watts, etc. This also will be shown during the software demo today. Coming to the testing and the development phases with the Typhoon Hill, uh, we have different methods of testing that are currently being followed during the R&D of any product. So let's see let's try to understand what is the simulation testing first, and then we'll advance to the later modes of testing. Okay, so everybody knows what's a simulation, right? So in simulation testing, we create a replica or a digital model of the circuit or the component that we are trying to test. Okay, so for doing a real-time for doing a simulation, basically, so you require a computer along with the compatible software, which will help you to model that particular system, okay, which you want to test. So once you model that uh, once you model that system into your computer, basically at the background of that circuit or model, there are different governing equations. For example, if we are modeling a simple circuit with passive components like resistors, inductors, capacitors, then there are some governing equations which are determined by the Ohm's law. Those are the governing equations which are actually functioning behind those to model its response in the software, right? So that is what happens in the simulation testing. Okay, so the advancement of the simulation testing is the real-time testing. So in the real-time simulation testing, we know that here we require additional hardware which is called as real-time simulator. So here you can see Typhoon's real-time simulator which is there along with a computer. Okay, whereas in the simulation testing we had just the software along with the computer, right? So here what happens is in the real-time simulation testing, the circuit that is built on your screen is later on downloaded or uploaded on this real-time simulator, and wherein it the real-time simulator has additional processing capacity compared to the general computer, which helps it to run that circuit in the real time, and which helps you to achieve a higher fidelity while testing. Okay, so one major difference between a simulation and the real-time simulation is that in the real-time simulation, as the name suggests, the simulation runs at as per your real-time clock. I mean the real-time wall clock. So as the time progresses, the exact response of a system, which you will get within a 1 second or 10 second, is exactly replicated in the real-time simulation platform. Okay. So as the result of which, if we compare the accuracy of the real-time simulator to the general simulation, which is the non-real-time simulation, we get a comparatively higher accuracy. Okay. And we get a same flexibility. Okay. So what kind of flexibility we are talking over here is flexibility regarding the rating of the equipment or the model which we are testing. Okay. So here there may be a range for a voltage or range for currents or different electrical parameters like power. So in real, if we exceed the rating of a component, there are chances that the component may get damaged. But here, when we are doing R&D on a product, so we are not aware about the exact limitations or the exact ranges of its rating. So when we are doing such kind of testing, that is real-time testing and the simulation testing, although we exceed the rating of these components, there is no chance that we will damage that particular device, right? Because we are not using any kind of real hardware. The circuit is in digital mode, right? So after that, the extension of the real-time simulation is the Hill simulation, which is called as hardware in loop simulation. So along with the computer and the real-time simulator, we can interface a controller board. Okay, as you can see here, there is a computer and there is a real-time simulator platform along with a controller board that has been interfaced with this real-time simulator platform. And what happens here is there may be a circuit like for example, let's say we have one inverter circuit. Okay, and that inverter is modeled on the real-time simulator platform, and we want to test its controller, that is whether a controller is able to provide a proper gate signals. Okay, so the gating signals can be uh, made to generate can be generated by programming a controller. Okay, maybe for example, the Typhoon Hill supports like TI based uh, DSP based TI controllers. So those can be programmed and can be interfaced on this board. uh, then those gating signals will communicate digitally with the digital copy of the inverter that is running inside the real-time simulator. Okay, this is called as controller hardware in loop testing. Okay, which is in contrast to power hardware in loop testing. Okay, we'll be discussing this in detail in upcoming session. But you need to understand that in hardware in loop testing, we have certain part of the circuit in the hardware form. Okay, so basically, in upcoming slides, you will listen to me saying that there are two parts in the circuit. One is the plant part, and another one is control part. Okay, so this is how whether depending on whether the plant part is real or the controller part is real, we can classify this hardware in loop simulation in terms of controller hardware in loop simulation or the power hardware in loop simulation. Okay, or CHIL and PHIL. So this is how it happens. And in comparison to the real-time simulation, we were not having any kind of hardware that is connected to this system, that is the real-time simulation. But here in the Hill simulation, you can see there is a added accuracy. There is also the flexibility is also maintained, and you are testing the actual controller. Okay, so that's the reason that this is a widely preferred method to go with when you are doing especially the R&D level work on certain projects. And finally, we have a hardware testing. So after doing a Hill simulation, we move on to the hardware testing, wherein all the devices are real. So no simulator is involved now, because we have to test the system solely based on what are the actual components which are there in the system. Okay, so that's how the hardware testing happens. But the hardware testing has a limited flexibility, wherein you cannot exceed its rating. Okay, the accuracy is maintained because all the components are realized in terms of physical form. Okay, so the main advantage of the Hill simulation is the cost and that is incurred in terms of testing. So if you come down, we can see here there are majorly I would like to highlight these two methods of testing, that is controller hardware in loop and the power hardware in loop, wherein we are comparing these two methods based on the cost and the fidelity. You can see the cost of the whenever you are doing a power hardware in loop, wherein your plant part is real and the controller part is in the digital form. So you have the added cost because the plant part is always more expensive than the controller part, and that's the reason that you can see there is a difference in the cost. So when you're testing with the actual controller but the digital plant, you will see there is a certain amount of reduction in the cost and the fidelity is maintained. Okay, but in terms of full power test, when the controller as well as the plant part is real, the physical hardware, you can see the cost is significantly high and the fidelity is also high. Okay. Uh, if you compare it with the simulation testing, the cost of the software is low. Okay. So in simulation testing, we don't have any kind of hardware that is involved, just the computer and the software and the model which is running inside it. But the fidelity is very low because we are not testing it on the actual hardware. Okay, I hope with that the testing and the development phases with Typhoon Hill is clear. So I have already explained this, the simulation versus the real-time simulation. Okay, in the simulation, you have this circuit. This is the typical circuit, how it looks inside the Typhoon Hill software platform. And this is what happens, that this entire circuit runs in the software in the simulation. And in the real-time simulation, we require a extra piece of hardware, that is the real-time simulator. We have to upload this circuit on the real-time simulator platform, and then we run it without any kind of other hardware which is related to plant and controller. Okay. So the main point you have to understand that in simulation or software simulation, which can progress faster or slower as compared to the real clock time. Okay. Whereas in the real-time simulation, it is the software simulation which progresses with the real clock time. Okay. For example, if a motor takes 10 seconds to attain its full speed from the start, then in the real-time simulator platform also it is going to take you 10 seconds to actually achieve that speed. Okay. So the main highlighting point over here is the Typhoon Hill is the real-time simulation platform, and it is going to model the actual time response of the devices you are testing. Okay. Uh, Coming to this method of testing, which is the rapid control prototyping. Okay, it is also abbreviated as RCP. Okay, so in the RCP testing, what is done is, as the name suggests, it is rapid control prototyping. So here we rapidly prototype a controller. Okay, so it is a kind of a real-time simulator testing, but here what we do is the controller part is running on your real-time simulator. Okay, I hope it's clear that your controller part is running on the real-time simulator, whereas this circuit, which is currently shown as a schematic, will be realized in terms of physical form. Okay, the actual circuit will be procured and assembled like this, and the controller will be running inside the real-time simulator. Okay, so this is how we rapidly prototype a controller without using an actual controller. Okay, so later on, one can, after RCP, one can go and buy a controller from the market, and then you can run the same code instead of this real-time simulator. Okay, so this is the rapid control prototyping simulation. Okay, so basically this is how the rapid control prototyping simulation works, wherein we have a grid, we have a three-phase rectifier. Please understand that all these components are in the physical form. Like the rectifier will be in the physical form, the DC link capacitor will be in the physical form, the inverter will be in the physical form, and there will be a load. For example, here it's a motor load, so it is in the physical form. Whereas the controller is not real, means it is digitally created on this real-time simulator. Then the later the controller can be bought from the market and can be programmed and can be interfaced with this system. Okay, so this is how a typical rapid control prototyping arrangement looks like. Okay, coming to the hardware in loop simulation concept. Okay, generally we term anything and this kind of testing as hardware in loop testing is whenever there is anything physical connected with the real-time simulator. Okay, so for the real-time simulator we have seen earlier that there was a controller card that was connected, and depending whether the controller part is in the physical form or the plant part is in the physical form, the hardware in loop simulation can be categorized in two main classes, that is controller hardware in loop, or it is also called as CHIL simulation based simulation, and it is also called as otherwise, I mean the other part is called as the PHIL or power hardware in loop simulation. Okay, so we'll see individually. Okay, so in CHIL there is a physical controller interface with a real-time simulator, and your real-time simulator contains your real-time simulated power hardware or your plant part. Okay, so as you can see, there is a controller card, as you can see, which will be interfaced with this real-time simulator, as we already saw it in the previous slide. And this controller is going to communicate with the real-time simulator as if it is the real load. For example, this real-time simulator can be modeled as a power grid, like, or a rectifier or an inverter, electric motor, or any kind of mechanical load like a compressor. Okay, so this is what happens in the controller hardware in loop simulation. Okay, so the controller is never going to know that it is not communicating with the actual power hardware, whether it will be actually communicating with the digital copy of that power hardware on the real-time simulator. Okay, moving to next, which is here you can see there is a controller card that we interface with this real-time simulator, and then it forms this kind of loop of information between these systems, and that is why it is called as in loop simulation. Okay, so controller hardware in loop simulation, so the hardware and the real-time simulator forms a loop. Okay, so the controller is real here, and the plant part, for example, this is the schematic, but this schematic will be uploaded on this real-time simulator. Okay, and the controller signals will be picked up like this from the real-time simulator itself on this line, and then it will be generating the appropriate gating signals for the converters. Okay, coming to the power hardware in loop. In power hardware in loop, we need to understand that in contrast to the controller hardware in loop, here we have the controller part in the digital form, and the plant part or the power hardware will be in the physical form. Okay, the plant part cannot be fully in the physical form, but there may be a partial part of the plant that may be realized in the physical form. Okay, for example, some part of the power hardware can be realized in the real form like these converters, whereas the generator, which is also forms the part of the plant part, is realized in the virtual format. Okay, so this part will be running on your real-time simulator, whereas this will be the actual hardware. Okay, so one distinguishing feature of the power hardware in loop is you have the if you see this entire span of the schematic. Okay, here it is marked that the battery is in the physical form, and on the right you can see there is a physical grid. I mean, it is the grid which is in the physical form. Okay, and this part of the plant, okay, is on the real-time simulator. Okay, now the PHIL enables you to actually test your circuit while it is operating with this kind of physical devices. Okay, although it is shown as a schematic over here, you can actually imagine this battery as a real battery, a physical battery, and the grid as also a real grid, the physical grid. And there are two interfaces you can see. uh, these interfaces are because you can see this part of the circuit. I said that it is running on the real-time simulator. Now the real-time simulator is the digital platform and it operates at low power, low voltage levels. Okay, and that's the reason that when we want to actually communicate with the physical devices which are at high power like grid and the batteries, that time we require to interface it with uh, this kind of physical devices which you can see on the either sides. These are called as power amplifiers. Okay, so as you know, this outputs and the inputs of this simulator, the real-time simulator, is at low power. So this power amplifier helps to control the signals bidirectionally, basically whether the signals are flowing from the right to left or left to right. And it helps you to match the power levels between the two circuits. Okay, and that is how the power hardware in loop simulation works, wherein you have to use a power amplifier to interface the or to make the real-time simulator communicate with the real physical devices. Okay, okay, so this is just a demonstration of the same, wherein we have a Typhoon's real-time simulator here. We have a power amplifier in between and we have a high power loads. So the low power signals from here are converted to high power signals and then they are applied to the loads. Okay, and similarly, if we are communicating any high power signal from your high power loads to the simulator, then it will again pass through the amplifier. It will be again reduced in magnitude or reduced in the power magnitude, and then it will be applied to the real-time simulator. Okay, so that's the rule of the power amplifier. Okay, now we'll look at the product range of the Typhoon Hill real-time simulator. So just a second. So I'm audible, right? Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Okay, so coming to the Typhoon Hill's real-time simulator ranges. So these are the range of products that are under the Typhoon Hill's product portfolio. So we have 4 series devices, 6 series devices, and the M series devices. Okay, under 4 series devices, you will see these two products which are Hill 404 and Hill 402 and Hill 404. Under 6 series devices, you will see Hill 602 Plus and Hill 604. And under M series devices, you will see these customizable microgrid test beds. Okay, so the M stand for microgrid. So these are the customizable microgrid test beds that can be customized as per the needs of the customer. Okay, So these are the simulator specifications which are there on your screen. Basically, if you see the Typhoon Hills processing platform is based on the primary processor, which is FPGA, and the secondary processor. Secondary processor actually includes two CPUs. One is called a system CPU, and other one is user CPU. Okay, the FPGA basically handles the high fidelity models like the converters that are power electronics converters to be specific, and the system CPU handles your slow dynamic systems, and your user CPU handles your controller part. Okay, so I won't go into the too much details of this uh, processing platform, but you need to understand that as we go in the higher range of these simulators, you can see there are something called as cores, which are 4 core, then it extends to 6 cores, and then to the 8 core. Okay, so with every advanced as you advance in the series of this simulator range, you will see there's an increase in the core count. Okay, basically the choice of the simulator is dependent on the level of complexity it can handle. Okay, so the level of complexity can be classified like based on how many number of three-phase three-level converters that are required, or how many number of single-phase converters are required, or how many numbers of IEEE standard three-phase buses that are required, or whether you require a multi-rate simulation or not. Okay, if you see the 402 device, which is the entry-level device, is can handle 4 converters with time step down to 0.5 microsecond. So it is 4 converters, which are three-phase three-level converters it can handle. And similarly, the 404 can handle four converters, which are each are three-phase three-level converters. But the time step it can achieve is zero point 0.2 microseconds. Okay, if you see, the Typhoon Hill 404 is the only device which can attain this time step, the signature time step of zero point 0.2 microseconds. So that's the reason that it is the faster compared to the other devices. Okay, but other converters, although they are at 0.5 microsecond, it can handle the higher complex models. Okay, so the 604 and there is a new device that has been launched, which is the combination of Hill 404 and Hill 604, which combines the higher pin count or higher input output pin count along with the higher complexity handling with the lower time step of the Hill 404. Okay, so so this gave rise to the Hill 606 concept. Okay, so the Hill 606 is the combination of 604 and the 404. And if you see, there are these two devices that are classified as the fourth generation devices. This is solely because of the time step that they can achieve, that is 0.2 microseconds, in contrast to 0.5 microseconds of the third generation devices. Okay, so the fourth generation devices can achieve the time step of 0.2 microseconds, whereas the third generation devices can achieve the time step of 0.5 microseconds. Okay, coming to the microgrid testbed. So this microgrid testbed generally has the collection of many Hill devices along with the microgrid controllers like. Okay, so here you can see there are different interfaces and the controllers that are that can be integrated depending on the requirement of the customer. So it can contain a relay or protection relay, or certain distributed energy controllers. Okay, like your genset controller, your energy storage system controllers. Like specifically, since we are today focusing on the battery, then we can call it a battery energy storage controller, and also it can include a PV controller. Okay. Okay. The same thing that it can help you to test your protection scheme along with the communication protocol. So all the latency of the communication protocol can be counted. It offers you different communication protocols, and the same applies to the battery energy storage, wherein you can test your battery energy storage converter with different communication protocols like your Modbus, Sunspec Modbus, IC61850, DNP3, CAN Open, CAN Bus, OPC UA, Ethernet, and so on. Okay. Coming to this case study, this is just a feedback of the CEO of AnaDrive, who used this Hill technology to test the converter-based transformer at their end. You can see earlier they were testing the transformer with the converter. So they were having a specific converter cabinet over here. They were having a controller cabinet, and they were having a filter cabinet. Okay, and these are the results that was obtained by them earlier with this particular setup. You can see the footprint of this total setup and how much area it is actually occupying inside the laboratory. And later on, they replaced the cabinet, the converter and the filter cabinet with the Hill device, okay, along with the real controller. So as you can see, this entire footprint is now reduced to this device or this testing platform over here, and that is how it is. They have reduced the footprint, as well as there is no what you can see, there is they have not compromised on any kind of fidelity that is there. Okay, so as you can see the waveforms over here, the waveforms are almost comparable with the real setup. Okay. Okay, coming to the Typhoon Hill simulator architecture. So the Typhoon Hill simulator architecture has multiprocessor architecture. So as I have already told you, there is a FPGA solver which handles the high high fidelity models of the power converters. Okay, the power electronic converters. The system CPU handles your low dynamic models like electrical machines, and the measurement parts. Okay, and the user CPU handles your controller part. Okay, so generally in the Typhoon Hill environment, you will see that the model is color coded into two parts. One is the black color and other one is blue color. Okay, so the blue color stands for the controller part, and the user CPU is under direct control of the user, and that can be used to write your codes that you write for the controller. I mean, in the sense, we'll be doing a model based programming over here, and the system CPU is not under the direct control but under the partial control of the user. Okay. Okay, so this is a typical schematic. Okay, and this is how the model mapping happens. Model mapping means assigning a certain part of the model to a specific processor, whether it is a FPGA based processor, the FPGA solver, or the system CPU or the user CPU. Okay, this is how the allocation of the model happens. Okay, this is done automatically by the software. So as you can see, the part that is marked in black, okay, is basically assigned to the FPGA solver. Okay, and the part that is marked in blue, okay, is assigned to the user CPU, which is the controller part. Okay. If you see this part marked in green, although there will be no green color in the real schematic, but it is shown that this is the low dynamics component. So this can be assigned to the system CPU. Okay, so yeah, so this is how the model mapping happens. So finally, we are end of this presentation, and we'll be heading on to the uh, software part in a while. So there is this platform called as Hill Academy, which it is the online learning platform by Typhoon Hill, wherein there are different courses that are offered, and it is free to anybody who is registering for that particular course. Okay, so I request you, if you can, you have time to take the course, then you pay a visit to this website called as hill.academy and review the courses of your choice, and then register, and you can start learning there, and you can earn a certificate also. Okay, so with that, I'm concluding with the presentation, and let's move on to the software part. So is my desktop screen visible?
Yes, Prajay, your screen is visible.
Okay, so thank you. Okay, so thank you. Okay, so I'll launch the software. So once we click on the Typhoon Hill Control Center icon, it will launch the software called as Typhoon Hill Control Center, and its version is 2021.3. So there's a echo. I think you can turn off your mic, please.
One network तो नहीं मिल रहा है घर में network तो वहीं हो
I think some participant has unmuted. So please check your mic. Hello, Shashank sir, is this your mic? Okay. Yeah, so this is the Typhoon Hill Control Center. Okay. And we'll start off with the first component of the Typhoon Hill Control Center, which is the device manager. Okay. So this device manager generally handles, or it basically will show you the simulators that are connected to your computer. Okay, so if I'm not connected with any real-time simulator, it will say unable to detect any Hill device. Okay, so it will list your simulators on this side. Okay. So this is what the device manager does, and next we have this section called as examples. Okay, once we click on the example section, okay, we can expand it. So this example section has the collection of different examples of different domains of electrical engineering. If you see, there are examples on aerospace, automotive, basic electrical circuits, communication protocols, electrical drives, general power electronics, grid connected converters. Then there are medical devices, microgrids, power quality based examples. Then there are power supplies, power systems, etc. Okay. And basically, you can go to any of this section, double click it, expand it. You go to a certain example. If we click it, then we get this example over here. Then one can click on this open model to open the example model and review it. The same models can be used as the base model for your application to build your project ideas on it. Going to this microgrid section, you can see there are different microgrid based examples which are there, like diesel genset, energy storage, for example, the battery energy storage. Okay, these are the examples. And one can click on this open model to open the same model, and then it can be combined. Then it can be compiled. Okay, so this is how the example works. And there is also with some examples, one will find this application note. Once you click on this application note, it is going to open the documentation in your browser like this, wherein you can actually get more information about the internal working of the model. Okay. So I'm closing this example section now. Coming to this section called as documentation hub. So the documentation hub houses all the documentation and the guides you require while you how to handle the hardware or how to parallel the different hill simulator. There are different controller cards, interfacing guides. Okay, there are some technical notes which are there, and there are API documentations that can be referred from here. Okay, next section is your licenses. So licenses will handle uh, the licenses which you have subscribed to. So let me tell you here that the Typhoon Hills license is free for all. Okay, one can use it for an individual purpose, or an institution can use for their teaching purposes, and it is free. It is a lifetime free license, so one can download it, but it will be renewed automatically after a year, because you will be here in the days left section. You for a first time user, it will show the days left as 365 days, which is 1 year. So it will be automatically renewed after 1 year. Okay, but it's a lifetime free license, but it will still show you the validity as 1 year. Okay, so in case the license is not getting renewed, then you're free to get in touch with the Typhoon Hills team. Okay, so you have to log into the hill.support@quops.com. Okay, I repeat the ID, it's hill.support@quops.com in case the license fails to renew. And in order to download the software, one has to log into this website called as typhoonhill.com. Okay, so this is the website. Okay, and here there is a section called as My Typhoon on your right top corner. Okay, you have to click on it. One have to, if you are a first time user, one have to register over here by feeding in your general details. Okay, and if you are already registered, one has to log in by clicking on this tab. Okay, since I'm already registered, I'm going to log in. Okay, in order to download the software, you have to go to this section called as downloads. Okay, here you have to select your operating system version. Okay, whether it is a Windows or Linux, and based on that, you have to download the software and start using it. The installation procedure is very, very simple. Okay, once you register, you'll be getting a license key. Okay, so this is a simple procedure to download this software. So getting back to the software. Next we have this main toolchain. This is called a main toolchain. which consists of the schematic editor, the Hill SCADA, and the Typhoon Test IDE. And if you click on the additional tools, it is going to reveal this tool strip in the additional tools. So it includes the waveform generator, the signal analyzer, script editor, firmware manager, and the test and calibration tool. Okay. So in the schematic editor, we are going to actually model a circuit. Okay. Generally, whatever schematics we have seen so far in the slides, uh, those are modeled in the schematic editor. And then we have this Hill SCADA platform. So in the Hill SCADA platform, we actually communicate and view the results from the model that we have constructed in the schematic editor. Okay. Typhoon Test IDE is the Python-based platform. It can be used to code and execute the Python scripts, and it is integrated with Allure, okay, which helps you to view the testing results. So this can be used to run the automated test scripts, okay, on your model. Coming to the waveform generator, okay, if we click on the waveform generator, we'll open it. Okay, coming to the waveform generator. Okay, this is the waveform generator tool, and the waveform generator tool has two tabs basically. So for the first tab is about PV file generator, and the second tab is the source file generator. Okay, so the PV file generator can be used to generate the curves for your PV module. Okay, so there are different PV models that can be selected over here, that is detailed or EN 50530 compatible model. Okay, as you can see over here, and then the appropriate specifications of that particular panel can be inserted in this spaces over here, and then one can click on this preview option at the bottom, and this is how it generates your PV and the IV curve for a specific module. Okay, here there is a choice for the VOC, the short circuit current ISC, and the technology type of the solar panel. Okay, similarly, if you enable a detail model, okay, this is the curve that is generated for the detail model, which takes the input as the open circuit voltage, the short circuit current, then the number of cells and ideality factor, etc., which can be used to correct this PV curve as per your needs. And the same generated file can be stored over here using the save option on top, that is save PV settings. Okay. Next, moving on to the source file generator. Okay, under the source file generator, one can create a customized signals, and that can be later on imported inside the Typhoon Hill software platform. So once we click to this option called as add new signals, it will ask you to select a signal template, which can be between sinusoidal, constant, sawtooth, or square. Okay. So once we select a signal, we can select here the RMS voltage value. We can select a frequency, we can select a phase and the number of cycles that we want. Okay. Then we can click on this insert signal. As you can see, the signals up to 5 cycles has been inserted, and then the same signal can be manipulated. So in order to manipulate, you have to click on this option called as show markers. It will show markers on your screen. Then we are going to select certain portion of this signal to modify. For example, I select this much portion. As you can see, the highlight is there, and the same can be moved like this. Okay, and once you disable the signal markers, you'll be able to see the modified signal that you have created. Okay, the same signal can be saved using the save option. Okay, you can see here there on top toolbar you can see the option called as save generated source waveform file. Similarly, the certain portion of this signal can be scaled. Okay, we select a signal. We can multiply the signal here by 10. Okay, so the points on the signal has got scaled. Okay, so I'll select another portion of the signal here, and here we can add or subtract. So I'm going to add 10 to it. Okay, we can add more like 50. Okay, you can see how the scaling is done on the same signal. Okay, and this is the modified signal, the abrupt signal that we have created just now. Okay, and that is how the source file generator works. Okay, the signal analyzer tool generally used to actually analyze the signals for FFT. Okay, and to have a closer look at the certain portions of the signal which we can see in the Hill SCADA. Okay, so here in the Hill SCADA, I said that it is used to actually talk to the model. Okay, and control the model or view the waveform. There are different widgets inside that, which is like the widgets like scope, which works like your general oscilloscope that we use in the laboratories, and that can be the waveforms from there can be exported to the signal analyzer window. Okay, okay, I don't have any file to open inside. Okay, in the script editor, which is the next tool, here there's an option to write the Python test scripts. Okay, coming to the next, that is the firmware manager. It operates automatically, wherein once the device is connected, the real-time simulator is connected, it will automatically update the firmware for the device. It will check for the latest firmware updates that are available, and it will update the firmware. Okay, next tool is the test and calibration tool. This is the rarely used tool, but it is used to test and calibrate the ports of the real-time simulator. Okay, and it is also used to check whether there are issues with the power supplies which is given to the real-time simulator. Okay, below you can see the icon for this software, which is the red color elephant. Okay, it's a mammoth actually, and once you click on that, you will be directly landing on the Typhoon Hills homepage. Okay, this way, and below you can see there's a software version that is mentioned, which is also a link, that is version 2021.3. Okay, once we click on it, it opens this documentation. So so whatever is the latest additions to the software in the new release will be included here along with the highlights, and these are the general additions, and there is a specific changes or the updates that has been done to the schematic editor tool or the Hill SCADA tool or the Typhoon's API. or the test library signal analyzer tool. Okay, so the tool specific updates will be listed over here. Okay. So with that, we'll now launch the schematic editor. Okay. So I click on the schematic editor. Okay. So this is how the schematic editor window opens. It shows you whatever recent files that you have opened. Okay, such that next time when you open it, you can directly open the required file without using much time. And on top you can see there is a menu bar. Okay, below that there is a toolbar which is showing you the icons. Okay, this is the file menu. Okay, which includes the option to open the new model. Okay, and there are different options here. Okay, like a general software. Along with there are option to import the schematics from the platforms like PSIM. Okay, this is the edit menu bar. This is the view. This model menu can be used to do different settings for your model as per the requirement. Okay, then there's a help menu, and followed by there is a toolbar. Okay, so the toolbar contains the option to open or create a new model, same like the file menu, wherein one can go to new and open a new model. Whereas here one can directly click on this option called as create a new model, and one can create a new model. This is used to open a model. Then there is save as options. There's a cut, copy, paste options. There's a zoom in, zoom out. Okay. Then there's a fit to screen option. Followed by there is the rotate options, the flip options, and then most important is this model initialization script, which is used to initialize certain variables inside the models. And then these are the model settings, which the same can be done from the model option in the menu bar. Then there is a compile, and there's a compile and upload option to the Hill SCADA. Okay, so in order to open any new model inside the schematic editor, I will use this shortcut, which is create a new model shortcut from the toolbar. Okay, so this is how the new model wizard opens. So it will ask you to select a specific hardware product, okay, on which you are working. For example, here it is listed like Hill 402, Hill 404, Hill 606, and the VHL Plus. Okay. Okay, there are different hardware configuration IDs that are there. Okay, so 1 to 6. Okay, in order to determine a specific configuration for your simulator, one can refer to this device table. Once you click on it, this is how the device table opens. Okay, and if we expand this device table, you can see there are 6 configurations. Configuration 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, one can select a device over here. Okay, whichever device it is. Depending on that, the different available configurations will be shown. Okay, so the choice of configurations is dependent on the number of SPCs. These are called as standard processing cores. So I mentioned about there are 4 cores and 6 cores or 8 cores in certain simulators. So for a given configuration, there will be certain SPCs that will be active at the same time, and along with that, there are different resources of the simulator that will be activated. For example, there are machine solvers, the signal generators like lookup tables, or there is a maximum converter weight per SPC. The SPC stands for standard processing core. I repeat. and it is related to the converters, the power electronic converters that we discussed, and that is how one have to select for go for different configuration in a given real-time simulator. Okay, so along with that, it offers you different functionalities like converter power loss calculation. Okay, if you see this option, then it is available only in the configuration 4. So if one have to do the power loss calculation with Hill 402, one will have to opt to this configuration 4. Okay, otherwise that functionality will be not enabled. Okay, that is how, based on the available resources on a given Typhoon simulator platform, one can go opt for different configurations. Okay, so that is how you refer the device table. Okay, coming to the simulation settings. So as you know that there are generally two parts for a given model, that is the plant part and the controller part. So so here we have the option to select a simulation method like exact, trapezoidal, Euler, or bilinear. Okay, and followed by you have the option of simulation time step. Okay, so I mentioned about the signature time step of the Hill 404, which was 200 nanoseconds. So this is how one can actually manually select the time step. But whenever there is a simulation time step that is made auto, then the simulator automatically optimizes and selects best time step that is suitable for your model. Okay, so this time step set or the simulation settings is exclusively for your plant part. Okay, so this simulation method and the simulation time step is not going to affect your controller part. Okay, so here the exact method is only offered in the Typhoon Hills real-time platform, and with that, the this is how you set the model initially, and then we click on next. Okay, then we review our hardware settings which are there. Okay, and then we have to click on finish. Okay, okay, once you click on finish, this is how a new schematic window is going to open for you. Okay, it will be like a blank canvas, and if you see here, uh, there's a name that is given to the new schematic, which is having a current date and time. Okay, it is saying new schematic 23rd September, and it is at a specific time at which I have opened this schematic. And on the left hand side, you can see there's a library explorer. Okay, so I'm opening the library explorer. Okay, so under the library explorer, these are the different categories of the components that will be listed for you. Okay, so it contains different components in the circuit breaker category, communication category, contactors, converters, machines, measurements, microgrids, model partitioning, then PHIL interfaces, passive components, ports, signal processing components, sources, systems, then transformers and the transmission lines for modeling of the power systems, and the signal processing section of this library will be exclusively used to model the controller part. Okay, so all these components under the signal processing will be used for your controller part, and generally they have blue color. Okay, a blue color highlight. Okay, so these are the different components under the signal processing. So under the circuit breaker category, we have different models of the circuit breakers. Okay, for example, in order to grab any components from the library, one have to drag and drop the component and drop it on this blank space. Okay, so if you double click on it, you will get the component information over here. Also, there is a help that is available for every component. One can click on the help and the same window will be opened in the browser. So here you can see it's a motor operated circuit breaker by ABB. Okay, it's a model of the ABB motor operated circuit breakers. Okay, this is the documentation for it. And there are other circuit breakers like this master pack circuit breaker from Schneider Electric. Okay, if you double click on the component, it opens its properties. One can do settings in this site. One can shift to these tabs and do the settings. Okay, okay, after circuit breakers, there is this library for communication. So here you will find different models to support your communication protocols. Okay, when you're operating in the microgrid. Okay, for example, I'm dragging and dropping this C37118 PMU protocol. Okay, you can expand it like this. Okay, I'm not expanding this all, but it enables you to support work with C37-118 CAN, DNP3, EtherCAT, Ethernet Variable Exchange, IC61850, Modbus, OPC, Profinet, SFP simulation link, and the serial protocol. Okay. Okay, next is the contactors library, wherein we have different ideal and non-ideal contactors. Okay, so one can just drag and drop. Okay, then coming to the most important library, which is the converter library. So this has the prefabricated converters. Okay, like I'll drag and drop three-phase thyristor rectifier. It's a prefabricated model, and all the models that is actually formed inside this schematic editor is ready to run on the real-time simulator. So you need not do any kind of manual conversion or the manual work in order to convert this existing model to a real-time platform. Okay, this is the added advantage of the Typhoon Hill real-time platform. So the software has automated all the almost all the processes for you. Okay, so these are already the real-time models which are there. So these are real-time converter models. Okay. So if someone has a need like to go for a different topology which is not available in this converter topology, then one can get in touch with the support team via the same link which I mentioned earlier, that is hill.support@quarks.com, and you can request to get the access to this single component library wherein you can actually construct your own topology in order to test it. Okay, so for that you will have to forward a certain supporting document like a research paper or any other document to such that such that we should understand that you genuinely require the support in terms of the single component library. Okay. Coming to the next, that is machines library. So this contains different machines. Okay, these are different machine models as per your needs. Okay, next is the measurement section wherein there are current measurements, voltage measurements. Okay. Next we'll go to the microgrid library. Okay, under microgrid library, one can go to the DR section, that is distributed energy resources, and we here have energy storage. Okay, under energy storage, you can see there is battery ESS. Okay, battery energy storage system, which is generic. Okay, so the component here are classified into two types. That is, one is legacy component and other one is generic components. Okay, whenever the generic components are not satisfying the needs of the certain project, then one can move to the legacy component. Okay, so in the generic model, the battery and the converter is everything integrated together. Okay, so we don't have access to the internals of this system. So if you one want to actually model the internals of this, one will have to do some fundamental changes at the interfacing of the battery to the converter. Okay, under such cases, one can actually opt for the legacy components. Okay, so the advantage of the generic components are that they are prefabricated, and it has already the interfaces. Okay, like your inputs and the outputs are already modeled inside this uh, UI, that is user interface. So this user interface generally interfaces with your component like this whenever it is a generic component, but you don't have access to change the type of battery that is interfaced inside this component. Okay, for example, if you want to do any changes to the battery chemistry and all, then it will be not possible for this generic component. Okay, so this is how the UI interface is connected. And if we double click on this battery energy storage, okay, it opens this properties window. Okay, wherein one can set under general tab, one can set the nominal active power, apparent power, converter line voltage, frequency, whether to include the transformer or not, the nominal grid line voltage. One can set battery, okay, battery parameters like battery voltage, battery capacity, the SOC, and most importantly, it helps you to uh, test this system with different grade codes. Okay, so here there are different grade codes which include LVRT, volt var test, hertz watts test, and volt watt test. Okay, so the different functionalities can be tested under the grid code for different country standards like Germany, Spain, US, Ireland, or custom. Okay, and the the curve can be visualized. Okay, once you click on plot LVRT curve, it can show you this LVRT visualization. Okay, so one can test the reliability of his total energy system along with the converter for this different grid codes. Okay, for example, if I go to volt var test, I'm going to plot the curve. Okay,
Hello.
hello, yes sir. Okay, after the grid code test, we have the converters extra tab wherein we can add the filter impedance, the transformer impedance, the DC link voltage, okay, the overpower capacity, the shunt resistance, etc. Okay, so there's also a grid extras tab wherein one can add grid short circuit apparent power, grid inductive power factor, etc. Okay, so this is the highlight of the generic component. So once we see the internals of this UI, okay, this UI, I'm entering this UI. You can see there are many probes inside. I will just zoom in and show. These are the probes which are lined in. So the user don't have to get an individual probe in order to carry out all these measurements. Okay, this will be directly available in the Hill SCADA panel. Okay. Okay, these are the measurements and the inputs. Okay, so different inputs like enable the converter mode, whether to make it operational in the grid following mode or the grid forming mode, everything can be directly set from the SCADA panel. Okay, so this is the advantage of the generic component. So after generic component, I would like to show you this legacy component. So legacy components are classified mainly into two parts. Okay, one is your switching model. Okay, so if we see this model, you can see there's a option to connect the battery from the outside. Okay, so one can connect connect the battery across the DC positive and the negative inputs. Okay, but this was not available in the generic component library. Okay, so once we enter it, this is the internals of that particular battery inverter. When you can see that this is the switching model, because here we are actually using a three-phase inverter, the actual switching model of it. Okay. Okay, similarly, it can be the inputs and the outputs. Like here we are connecting the UI inputs and UI outputs. The same can be collected from here, the inputs and the outputs. And next is the average model. Okay, so the distinguishing feature between the inverter model, which is the switching model, and the average model is that you can see here there is no converter in this part. Okay, so there is no converter in this part, but if you see here, this is the switching model wherein the actual converter has been used. Okay, so the added advantage of this kind of models is that one can actually uh, reduce the load on the simulator while simulating it, and also one can actually when you're releasing a load or the resource load on the simulator, you can use it for adding more components to your system on the same simulator. Okay, so it is like there will be advantage in terms of number of converters that one core can handle. Okay, this advantage can be overcome by using certain components which are little bit lighter on the processing side on the real-time simulator. Okay, so this is how the average model works, wherein there are voltage control sources but no real converters inside. Okay, and this is how it works. So the average converters are a bit lighter on your simulator. Okay, so it will help you to add more components to your model and make your model lighter on the simulator. Okay, depending on your requirement. Okay, then there is a simple battery inverter. So the simple battery inverter is not having many controllability, not much controllability on whether you want to use this inverter for the grid following or the grid forming mode. It will always you will be used in the grid following mode, whereas the battery inverter that is switching and the average models can be configured as the grid following or the grid forming modes. Okay, so if we see their properties, the properties are same basically, the switching and the average ones. It has a general tab to set these parameters. There is a filter section, then there is the advanced section for setting the values of the PLL, okay, and the gain parameters of for the controllers. Okay,
Prajay sir,
yes sir.
sir, please conclude the session, sir.
Okay sir. So I'll just load one example model and I'll conclude the session.
Okay,
It will just take 2 minutes,
okay,
next 2 minutes. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so dear participants, so now we will load one example model. Okay, so we'll click on the examples. We'll go to the microgrid section. We go to energy storage. Okay, we go to energy storage and we'll load one average model. Okay, we'll load this model. So basically you will see how to load a model. Okay, now, so we click on this option called as open model. Okay, this is the model that we have opened. Okay. In order to upload this model to the SCADA panel, one have to click on this option called as compile and load the model in Hill SCADA. Okay. So this is the model, and below you can see this is the uh, compilation report window. Okay, so this is how the compilation report is generated. Okay, now you can see we have transitioned into another window which is called a Hill SCADA. On the right, on the left side top corner, you have seen that it is named as Hill SCADA. Okay, here we have not connected any hardware device, hardware simulator. So still there is an option to run this simulation on your computer, on the computer CPU. Okay, so this is called a virtual hill mode. Okay, so without the simulator, there's an option to run the simulation. So one have to select this option called as load model to virtual hill. Okay, once we select it, it will start configuring the environment on your computer as a Typhoon Hill device, but a virtual device. Okay, once we are in the SCADA panel, this is called as panel file that is associated with the current model. Okay, one have to click on this panel file. Okay, and this is how the panel has opened. This is called a scope. Okay, this is called a scope widget. On the left hand side, you can see there are widgets that are listed. One can click on the scope window here to see the scope, and this is the panel. Okay, in order to run the simulation, one have to click on this green color triangle in the toolbar. Okay, now we'll enable the inverter from here. This is the interactive window wherein we are interacting with the model. Okay, I have enabled the inverter. Okay, here on the trace graphs, these are called as trace graphs. You can see the variation in the powers, the different powers. These are called as sliders, wherein one can select the reference voltages here, like Vref, or the reference frequencies, or the active and the reactive power references can be set along this. There are digital displays which shows you different readings. There are LEDs which shows you statuses of the different devices. Okay, there are gauges which shows you the indication using the pointers. Okay, this is how you vary the sliders. Okay, this is the scope. These are our waveforms. Okay, the simulation is continuously running because this is the real-time simulation platform, and one can stop the simulation using the stop icon. Okay. So that's it. So I'm concluding my session over here. Any participant have any doubt?
Any questions from the participant?
विजय सर
जी सर, जी सर।
यस सर, गुड आफ्टरनून, शशांक बोल रहा हूँ
जी,
सर. आई लाइक टू ऐड सम फ्यू थिंग्स इनटू दिस वन, like why actually this is discussed about the battery energy storage system and the detail about the Typhoon Hill, what you can do and what you cannot do with this one, and how up to what level you can go. So I like to tell the participant that when we planning the energy management systems for smart cities, whatever is for smart cities or whatever is for smart devices, or we need to make a smart grid system. So it's battery energy systems plays a vital role. means we need to have storage. Otherwise, we cannot without storage we cannot think about the smart system, because it sometimes it means at the time of peak period it will work as a source, and at the time of means a low load period it can be used as a means a discharging element also. So at the many factors it will work. Okay, so what you can do when we need to
वहीं से स्टार्ट होता है। ये सब बड़ा परेशान रहते हैं।
hello.
जी सर, प्लीज कंटिन्यू सर।
Yes, yes, sir. So whenever we are thinking to design something, means the topic is there, the role of energy storage for energy management system. So the thing is, we cannot start with the hardwares, because we don't know that what kind of capabilities we require. So that's why these kind of platforms required, so that you can test, you can design your system, you can test your things, you can put your sensors, you can trace the data, that how it is transferring from one place to another place and in which format it is transferring. For that purpose, we need to know about the different communication protocols, as discussed by Mr. Prajay. You need to learn about all those things, and at the same time also you need to have idea about the codes, that what are the standards required to set particular devices, what are the standards required to set the particular platform, so that you can put your system with the main system, to interconnect with main system. So these tools are very efficient when you are planning to design something like that, so that you can make a full use of it with the full capabilities. And at the same time, by having pre-built, pre-designed and pre-compiled libraries, you are going to reduce the time of modeling, you are going to reduce the time of compilation, you are going to reduce the time of planning also. So and you can test with the certain grid codes, like if you want to test, like with say you want to test your microgrid. So at that time you need to test with the VDW, FDW, TR3 revision 23. Under this situation, you need to test with the low voltage ride through, high voltage ride through, low frequency ride through, high frequency ride through. UL1741 code is there, IC6185 is there. So a lot of things are there. And nowadays smart devices are in the picture, like electric vehicle. For example, electric vehicle is a smart device. Now it is going to becoming more and more smarter. And if you want to interconnect this your vehicle with the grid, you need to have, means you need to put a lot of efforts, and stability issues also these devices are going to cause. So you need to encounter those stability issues also. So for those purposes, you need to have these kind of tools and platforms, so that you can test and develop the things. That's what I like to add with this one. And that's it from my side. If any participant having any doubt, any questions, they can ask.
Any queries from the participant?
One thing I'd like to add, the software is open source, you can download anytime.
Thank you, Prajay ji and Shashank ji, for brief introduction about the typhoon hail related to the energy management problem, how one can model the systems. You have covered every aspects of energy modeling. So this hands-on experience will definitely, I believe and I hope that definitely it will enrich the knowledge of the participant. So once again, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Dear participants, the next session will be delivered by the Professor R.K.